outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I have this AM detector using a FET. And I added an amplifier for the audio section before it goes to the 386. I wound my own coils. Variable cap in the back. I'll show you a close-up. And put it all on a little proto board. If you make an FM radio, don't use a proto board. It acts a little squirrely at those higher frequencies. This is AM radio. Sometimes there's sports and then you have news, etc. But anyway, it's a cross between a woodworking project and an electronic project. So this is around 600 kilohertz. Okay, I have to turn up the volume, but if I turn it up too much, then it might squeal because of the amount of gain I have. If I go to something around 700, a very strong station. Okay, picks that up very well. Now at night, a certain time in the evening, they reduce power and switch antennas, all kinds of stuff. You can look it up, happens in to your stations. So it's nice to have the ability to turn up the volume when somewhere around sunset. And you can still hear that station. You might lose the other stations. Then I get into some kind of noise over here. Electrical. Okay, there's another station. So I'm picking up 3 stations. Of course, not too loudly. But so this picks up 3 stations. The very strong one, the best, without a ground or without a long antenna. I'll show you the schematic. Okay, the simplest of AM radios. Got a long wire. Give you a cap there. Inductor to ground. Variable cap in parallel. Then you go to a germanium diode. Real sensitive. And then you have a resistor. You're going to develop a voltage cap there. And then you have your amplifier to a speaker, headphones. You could have some kind of volume pot in here. What I'm saying is, with this basic radio receiver, you're going to need a long wire. And you're going to need a ground, like a plumbing pipe or a stick in the ground, you know. But with a FET AM radio, you don't need those. You don't need a long wire. You don't need the earth ground. Of course, you're going to need some kind of power up here. a pin out. I'm kind of working out of my garage here on a toolbox. Now you're looking at the FET, and for this model, this type of FET, there's the flat side with the number on it. You have a drain, source, and a gate. So your signal comes in on the gate. Your current comes up through the source of electrons, and then the drain goes out to your positive. So if I have room over here, it looks like this. That's the drain, that's the source, and the signal comes in here. You could have a cap there or not. High input impedance. This is an N-type. Arrow goes in. Sometimes the signal is taken off the drain with some resistors up here, another kind of network. And this one, the signal comes off of between the source and this resistor, and that's going to vary from, I found out, 475 k ohms to a couple megs will work. You can try different values there and different values for this cap as well, and your signal comes off here. So off the coil, which RF hits the coil, you develop a current in the wires, and this detects it and amplifies it. So this FET is better than the germanium diode I showed you earlier.
We do have a temperature of 35 degrees with sunshine, and at Rio Rancho it's 33 degrees and 28 is the temperature this morning.
All right. So you don't have to use masonite and plywood. You could use there's a piece of walnut if you wanted to build a box for an AM radio. Of course, this isn't sanded too well, but it's an example of what kind of color would come out of walnut. Wouldn't that make a nice box for a radio? That color, look at that walnut. You could do that. Here's some Spanish cedar. I'm not really used to putting any kind of finish on that. That'd be a nice box. Okay, well, it's up to you. You could even go bananas and say, you know, I want to do something exotic, and here's like a little chest, like almost a treasure chest from one of those craft stores. You could take this apart, put an AM radio in that. Might even be a good resonant cavity for sound. Of course, it's from China, I think. I don't know, that looks pretty good. I made the inductor, the coil. Now I built this, tried it out with the ferrite rod and windings, and measured the windings with a little circuit with a display that tells you the inductance. But when I use what is this, 35 turns of number 28, what is that, American wire gauge, AWG, on a 4-inch diameter See that? Yeah, I built a gizmo to help me wind up coils, and it counts using a pedometer. But anyway, this works for around Albuquerque. I get 3 stations, 4-inch diameter coil using number 28 gauge wire, about 35 turns, and that is in parallel with a, see what it says, 365, way in the back there, 365 picofarad variable capacitor metal vane. That's probably the most expensive part of the whole radio. You can try others, but I like the sturdiness of these guys, and they were like $13, and now they're, I think I bought them on sale, but now I want to say they're like 20 bucks. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. But adding a very good quality variable capacitor helps. Okay, with the table saw, I built these little bases, 4x6 inch. And then for the sides, I have little pieces of masonite. Some you can get polished, both sides, if you want to buy a section or a full 4x8 sheet and just go bonkers and build 20 of these radios. I think this was on the back of a picture that fell and the glass broke, and we just threw it away, but it had this thin masonite on the back, so I saved it because I said, hey, I can use this for radios. So these two, they go on the sides. And this section is a top. So of course, for this model, this is the front. So I'll need to cut the holes in and mount this to the base. And of course, this, the way I'm building, you can build your own style. But the way I'm going to build this is I build this Okay, there's one, somewhere around 600. Okay, that was 700 and something we just went through. There's something there. That's electrical noise. Once we get out of the garage, we'll pick up something. But I distinctly heard 5 stations on here. Of course, only the strong one comes in.
That's kind of when they let it get away, when the Broncos turned up the heat defensively, and then the Lobos start basketball over, and then from there it just kind of.
But anyway, so in case of some kind of weather emergency, the end of the world, you know how to make a radio.
We do have a temperature of 35 degrees with sunshine, and at Rio Rancho it's 33 degrees and 28 is the temperature this morning.
Okay, well, see you later. This took a couple days because I had to change a power steering pump in a Subaru, but I got back to the radio and finished that. So that's one of my better AM radios, if anybody listens to AM anymore. I have built some FM radios, but AMs are a lot easier. Okay, thanks. See you later.